Mr. Garamendi for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two things I'd like to focus on here. All of the questions that have been asked, all of the testimony that's been given indicate that the FAA in all of its various parts of its organization has two fundamental problems. One, organization. Two, an inability to get the job done for lack of resources. And so for each and every one of you, if you could respond in writing to the committee or to me about what you need in terms of resources to carry out your task. Just listening to the testimony here, each one of you said, well, it's going to take too much time, we don't have the resources. So I won't ask you to comment all the way down until I get past my second question. But it seems to me that as we do the reauthorization here, fundamentally we have to deal with an organization, the FAA, that is not organized to meet the challenges of a rapidly changing aviation industry. All of you have testified to that already, so I'd appreciate that information back from you. What do you need to get the job done? Personnel, resources, organizational structure, and the like. What are the shortcomings? What are your suggestions about how to properly organize and fund the FAA to carry out the multiple tasks? The question I want to get to deals with air cabin. We've carried a bill with Senator Blumenthal for the last 3-4 years now, and it's the Cabin Air Safety Act. Right now, there is, in most planes, no monitoring of the air quality. We've been at this a long time, and we do know from multiple incidents and testimony from pilots as well as air crew that there is all too often fume events in airplanes. And so I want to get to this. And Captain, if you could, Ambrosi, if you could comment on this, what you and your colleagues in the air experience. And then we'll come back to, well, why can't we get this done?
Well, thank you, sir, for the question and on your support on this issue. We absolutely support your initiative. Pardon the pun, but smoke and fumes don't fly in an airplane. It's a problem, and we have far too many of these events. We do support and we need monitoring of this to get to the root cause. Basically, there's data that shows maintenance may be over-servicing the auxiliary power unit, and it creates a issue where there's some smoke. But there's too many of these anecdotal of where it could be coming from. We need to truly get down to brass tacks to study it, because it's not good for the health of the traveling public, but our fellow cabin crew members and pilots spend a lot more time in the air than anybody, and it's a concern for us, so we support that initiative and are happy to collaborate.
Would any of the other witnesses care to comment on this? I know that here in Washington, D.C., if you want to rent out your house, you're required to put in smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. And occasionally, somebody will come along and check and see if it's done. I don't understand why the airline industry cannot and will not do this just routinely. But they won't, so apparently we need a law. So I think what I'd like to do is to deal with this issue, ask the committee here to pass this legislation out of this House and literally force the airline industry to get on with it and to provide the monitoring devices so that the cabin crews know what's going on. And I'm going to go back to the first question. This is the larger question about the reauthorization of the FAA. It's our opportunity, in fact, it's our responsibility to write legislation so that the FAA is properly organized to carry out the multiple tasks, of which all of you have talked about here today, and properly funded. It is not presently that by your testimony and by the questions of many of my colleagues. And with that, I will yield back.